Ball so hard, this shit crazy. Y'all don't know that don't phase. And as we go, 0 for 82 when I look at you like you the gravy. Ball so hard, where we ain't even Pope be here. Ball so hard since we here. It's only right that we be fair. Psycho, I'm libo to go Michael. Take your pick, Jackson, Tyson, Jordan, Game 6.
What up, everybody? This is Double G for the Ball So Hard podcast. Tonight talking about both the San Francisco Giants and MTV's The Challenge Free Agents. And there are very few people who I know who can actually talk about both like myself. And one of them is on the line with me. Her name is Carmen Kiew. She is on Twitter at Carmen Kiew, Kiew. And she's also known as sort of like the gift queen of the Giants, the San Francisco Giants. Like, what do you, like? Have people given you a nickname about that? Is like gift queen, gift badass? Like what? Like how do people? How do they reference you when they talk about your gifting skills?
I've heard gift queen. I've also heard Bags called me like the gift meister. Whatever. I guess I now have that reputation, and when I don't make gifts, I get a little bit of a stink, but I enjoy it. I mean, it's definitely one of my better useless talents, I guess.
So I've had you on before, and we talked the challenge the last season. So I may have asked you this, I don't remember, but what is the most popular gift that you've put out there in the Twitterverse that's been just circled millions of times?
I'm like almost positive it's got to be the Gene Machi fart gift.
That was going to be my guess.
I think that's the one. I mean, I can't say with certainty, but that's the one that I feel like is referenced all the time. And I mean, there's always like Tim Lincecum. The last time Tim Lincecum had a no-hitter, I think there was like a couple gifts in there that people liked. But honestly, like that fart gift was like the best in my opinion.
The Tim Lincecum gift from last year was very it was almost too perfect, the way that everyone calls it the Buster hug, that Buster just kind of bear hugged him and picked him up, and yet today, which just by pure luck we are talking about the Giants today, Tim Lincecum throws his second no-hitter day game. So I know a lot of people were at work and they're probably frustrated. I was able to work from home, and I think you had tweeted out a photo where you guys were actually be able to watch it in the office. The second no-hitter, just as sweet. Like, I feel, I hold Lincecum near and dear to my baseball heart because he's my favorite player on the Giants. And I was just kind of like, I almost was in, like, I don't think this is going to happen mode, so I didn't really let myself get sucked in until the very end. And, I mean, I thought it was awesome, but what did you feel? Like, just as sweet as his last one, or was it like, oh, man, the Giants have thrown 3 no-hitters in 3 years, this kind of old hat? Like, how'd you feel about it?
Well, with Timmy, this time I wasn't nervous at all. The last time I was super nervous. For some reason, I just felt like he had that look in his eye this time, and I wasn't worried about him not getting the no-hitter. Maybe that was misguided or something, but I really felt like he was going to get it. So I wasn't nervous, but I have a very soft spot in my heart for Tim Lincecum, and just something about somehow he's gone from, 2 Cy Youngs and 2 rings to kind of being an underdog, picked on a little bit by the fans. Send him to the bullpen. He's not good anymore. His velocity's down. And so whenever he does something like this, I just I'm really happy, more so than I was for, like Matt Cain's perfect game, just because, nobody really thought he was capable of ever coming back or looking the way he did today or the last time he threw a no-hitter. So for me, I just have a really soft spot in my heart for him.
He has I've seen some really great city player relationships. I can think of Joe Montana. For the Giants, it was always Willie McCovey, and then Will Clark, was probably the next guy. And then after that, it really is Lincecum. Like, there are so few players who the city just sort of encapsulates them. And, we have to deal with him wearing the stupid, Seattle Seahawks jerseys every once in a while because that's where he's from. But, you see it now with Steph Curry and Oakland and, the Bay Area and where we kind of just envelop these guys, and we just, we want to watch them and see them as much as possible because we know with today in sports, it's very rare that players stay with their team for their whole career. So, Timmy's rise was so fast and strong, and it was like a bolt of lightning, and his fall has been, his fall was just as quick, but he's lengthened his career with this team, whereas, some players, when they lose it, like he did, and he's just been given so many chances to continue to rebuild himself as a pitcher. And I think a lot of that is because of the relationship that he's built with this fan base. I don't know if he's the most popular player or the second most popular player, the third most popular player, whatever. He's very popular, sells a ton of jerseys, and when he's on, that stadium rocks harder than just about anybody else. Why do you think that is?
I think there's a fondness for this guy. He's different. He's like the small little dude who is just kind of an anomaly. He's different, and he's not afraid to be quirky. I mean, I don't know if you saw the GIF that I posted earlier, but it was like him in the seventh inning. He was like 6 outs away from, his no-hitter, and he was just like goofing around in the dugout, just like playing his day. And I don't think he holds the stick. He's just a very different type of baseball player. I think it's very rare that you get somebody like Tim Lincecum, both in talent and kind of in personality. And I just think that fans like that, especially San Francisco. We love the weirdos.
Yeah, I mean, he was very unconventional during this no-hitter, and lots, usually the pitcher is left alone to stew in his own conscience on the bench. And I think Michael Morse said that, he was going to talk to Lincecum if Lincecum wanted to talk to him, but he wasn't looking him in his eyes and stuff. So that whole stuff is pretty funny, and is really like, that's only the way that it happens in baseball. Probably doesn't happen in the other sports like that. And, it was at the perfect time because the Giants have just been playing some pretty bad ball. I don't know what their, the recent 13 games or whatever it's been, but, 2 or 3 wins in that span. And they were once like 22 or 23 games above 500. They were almost in double digits when it came to their lead. And now, they're still about 13 games over 500, but the lead has dwindled a little bit, obviously. But, as far as a first half, they are 78 games. So, almost halfway, 3 more games and they'll be halfway. And I think if we looked at the beginning of the season, we would say, being 14 games over 500 is excellent. Like, we would take that in a second. But doesn't it feel a little down knowing how well they were playing just a few 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yeah, I think obviously it's going to be a letdown, right? Because your expectations are inflated by basically what was a crazy run for them. They were winning games they had no business winning, and I think, I think Giants fans can be a little bit spoiled, myself included, just with this team, how many World Series rings we won in the last couple of years, and then how talented the team is. And so when they don't play well, I think there's this air of disappointment, and some of it justified, some of it a little bit dramatic. I mean, I saw people yesterday blaming the organic garden, which I think might be a little bit of a stretch. But, I just think it's always hard to fall from grace, right? And I'm not too concerned. I think there's always going to be a stretch like this in any season. So I'd rather it happen now than later down the line when, October is so close you can taste it. I think that would probably, stress me out a little bit more. So, I think Angel Pagano is obviously a reason for this team kind of free-falling a little bit. They don't seem to perform very well when he's not in the leadoff spot. So the quicker he can get healthy, I think the faster we can kind of get back on track. And certainly Belt returning to the lineup probably next week, I guess, would be really helpful.
Yeah, and, let's talk about Pagan for a second. Now, the people who follow me on Twitter, they know how hard I am on Pagan. I think he is a great table setter. I have a lot of problems with his defense, but the numbers don't lie. When he plays, they win. I mean, it's as simple as that. But the problem is just that he hasn't played often in these last 2 years, and you've seen the way the team has played when he's not in there. I mean, Gregor Blanco's a fantastic fourth outfielder, but when he has to start for you, the drop off between Pagan and Blanco offensively is drastic. If you were to, I guess, if you were to look at the team, if let's say that Pagan is going to be sort of up and down, what do you buy that he is that valuable, or do you think that we'd have to go get somebody else, or maybe he does stay healthy? It's unfortunate that these guys who are fast, as they get into their 30s, their legs kind of break down a little bit, but I do wonder. If we could just figure out a way to keep this guy on the ball field, let's say he's out for another couple weeks, that we'd probably be left at about, 75, 70 games or so. If we could keep him on the field, in 75% of those games, it feels like we have a really good chance to continue playing good baseball.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think it's sad that we do rely on him so much, but, I watched him. I'm a part-time Mets fan, and so I've been watching him for a very long time, and yes, he does get hurt a lot, but that's because he plays wholeheartedly. I don't think it's for lack of effort. And when I see him, kind of taking those bases and, taking really big strides, I always get nervous because I know exactly what happens is that he starts to break down a little bit when he's diving around the outfield and everything. So, I would love to see the Giants be able to maybe – I don't have a perfect solution, but maybe somebody else from further down in the lineup could end up filling his spot. I don't really know. I could potentially see Hunter Pence or somebody doing that. He's not a typical leadoff man, and I would really hate to give up kind of that RBI situation because he's a great RBI man, but I think they have to make it work because they can't rely on Angel Pagan being healthy, right? They can maybe say, all right, he'll be in most of the games, but if this is how they react when he isn't in the lineup, which I know we saw them free fall against the Padres, that's not a team that's going to make it to October.
Right. Pence hitting high, I think is great. If you went Pence Belt or something like that, I think that could work in the 1-2 spot.
Good.
Though, there's a lot of talk about Crawford. I think, I don't know,
Yep.
you could move him up, but though I think he's pretty dynamite in that 7 hole. He's been so great this year with it. Let's compare a little bit. Now, we both have seen, 2010, which was like this sort of, what was Baggerly's book called? The Band of,
Misfits.
Band of Misfits. There you go.
Yeah.
And that's a perfect title for that team. 2012, a little bit more of a conventional team, led by this super mature, third-year player. He became the real identity. They took on his identity, not as misfitty at all. A little bit more proper and Boston Red Soxy a little bit. Now, 2014. This team, obviously different from both teams. Do you feel that they have a little bit of that same magic? Like when you're watching games, are you reminded of 12 and 10? From how you felt, because I feel like this team does have a little bit of that 2012 in them, but they were able to grab guys like Morse, who is a little misfitty, right? Like he's been bounced. He's been bounced around, and when he came on this team, people said, oh, you're not going to be able to play him in the left field because his defense is so terrible. Yet he's filled in adequately at first. And, Belt is always going to be misfitty just because of who he is. And he's kind of had a weird season. He started out so great, slumped a little bit, and then now, then got hurt. And at first it didn't seem like, we didn't really skip a beat when he got hurt. But now it feels like, man, where's that extra bat? So I sort of feel like there's a little bit of a mix of both teams in there. What do you feel when you watch this team play?
I get kind of a mixed reaction. I mean, I think they do have that kind of spark in them. I agree with you what you said about Morris. Like, he is a misfitty player. I would say we didn't know what we would get out of Tim Hudson, and he's been dynamite. Gene Machi has been a really nice surprise this season as well. So I see a lot of special qualities in them that I think is unique to the Giants. That being said, I think I need a little bit more time to develop my feelings about them because right now I'm seeing a different team than I saw literally 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Drastically different, right?
Yeah, you wonder where the slumpiness comes from, and some of it. I mean, some of I think the numbers in a sense can tell some of the story. Offensively, we were so happy to see them hit the home runs, and that kind of stopped. And when it stopped, their hitting really stopped. They are a middle of the road team when it comes to batting average. They are at the the bottom fourth of the league or bottom third of the league when it comes to on base percentage. And that's how you score runs in baseball. You just get on base. Thankfully, they're still in the top 10 in slugging percentage as a team, and they're still creating enough runs to offset the on base because of that power. So I do think they're going to need to figure out, maybe it is Belt and Pagan. I think once those guys do get back, that'll definitely help. And maybe they go find a second baseman or something. What do you feel about Belt right now? He's going to be in San Jose Thursday, which this will be up on Thursday, so he'll be in San Jose today. It seems like he's going to be there for for a series or whatever, and then he should be back on the big team. You and I and a few other people out there on Twitter are huge Belt fans. I'm a near Belt apologist. I will give so many other players the business on our team, and not him at all. I think it's kind of fun to do that because of how on the flip side most people are about him. They have zero patience with him. But what is it about that guy? What draws you to him as a player? We talked before. He's your favorite player on the team. How does that be? What is it about him that you enjoy so much?
I've been attached to him for a really long time, only because I'm from the South Bay, so I did watch him play a little bit when he was in San Jose, and I just really like his swing. I think it's pretty, and I have an affinity for kind of first baseman. JT Snow was my favorite player growing up, and so I kind of always looked to the first base guy to be my hero anyways. So there was that. And then when he made it up to the big league, I mean, I always knew he kind of had a goofy personality, but it really came out. And then not only that, I love a good underdog, and he became the ultimate underdog. You just wanted to see him succeed, but he was struggling so much. And I just had a feeling that his talent would eventually manifest itself. I was hoping that this would be his career year. Unfortunately, he broke his thumb or whatever, and so, it's kind of stalled a little bit. But I just had a feeling about him, just the way that, when you watch rookies and you see the way they play and just how natural their swing looks, and I was attracted to that.
I didn't think that his act was going to fly in the big leagues. And maybe it doesn't fly on a lot of teams, but this team, I always thought Bochy was a really tough on him early on. I thought there was a lot of tough love going on, especially, when he would sit him for doing things and wouldn't sit other players for doing similar things. And, we don't know what happened, behind the scenes, maybe Belt's attitude or, mopiness or whatever it was, could have been some of that. And, Bochy is a manager for vets, he loves his vets. And I always, when the goofiness and the personality and sort of how he's just grown into that role of he almost makes fun of himself from time to time. I didn't know how it was going to play on a big league team, and I thought he was going to have to kind of grow out of that a little bit, but I think it fits, and it makes him. It gives him a personality. He definitely stands out, because of it. And they have the two Brandons weekend coming up, and Crawford and Belt together. Just embracing this Brandonness, and I'm pleasantly surprised because I like you. I've been a big fan of his. When they drafted him out of Texas, I kept my eye on him. Like similarly, watched him go through, San Jose, and the Giants historically don't grow big league hitters in their farm system. They do really well with pitchers, but historically, they had troubles with that. And I think the real problem and the reason for a lot of the flack is he had to follow Buster and Madison Bumgarner, who really just delivered immediately. And Buster came in 2010, and he's one of the key cogs to win the World Series, and Bumgarner's in there at the tail end, and then in 2012, Bumgarner is maybe the best pitcher on the team, so he just had to follow those guys, and he did not produce like people expected him to right away, and he took a lot of flack. So I agree with you though. I really enjoy him.
I mean, I think one of the things people don't realize, two things, is that, Buster and Madison, they're not the rule. They're the exception, right? You're not going to get a lot of people who come straight out of the farm and can mash or pitch. So that's one thing. The second thing is that Brandon Belt did not have very many at-bats, and neither did Crawford, for that matter, when they got called up. So you watch them kind of figure themselves out as players in the big leagues. They basically made all their mistakes that they would have made in Fresno in front of everybody with the spotlight on a team who had, just won the World Series, and everybody was looking to get after. So I think they, especially Brandon Belt, got a bad rap, but I think that might have been the cause, is just because, people just weren't willing to cut him any slack and didn't know any of the history behind how many at-bats he'd have and everything in the minor leagues. So I think if they had known that, maybe they would have been a little bit less horrible to him on KMBR.
Oh, KMBR. My history with KMBR. Okay, so we're going to wrap up the Giant stuff right now, and we'll talk about the challenge. So anyone who was listening for the Giant stuff, you can get ready to turn it off, or maybe you are interested in the challenge, and we'll start the challenge stuff. But my last thing about this is, like I said, we're almost halfway into the season, and it's gone by so fast. What do you feel they need to do to improve the team as it is? Like a lot of people were talking, Shamarda or David Price or all these guys, who are really high ticket arms and who would, deplete several of our prospects in order to trade for them and be really expensive, in the future. That was kind of the hot thing. And, earlier this season it was Chase Utley. We can get Chase Utley from Philadelphia. What do you feel that they need to get to where the October baseball level, where you're not afraid of the Dodgers catching them and passing them?
I think they really, I'm worried about second base, so it would be nice to see Joe Panic kind of establish himself there. I don't think Scutaro is going to get any better, right? It doesn't sound that great for Scutaro. So I think they need to really have somebody that they can count on at that position. I think they need to figure out the leadoff hitter thing. If it's not Angel Pagan, then who is it, right? Because he is such a spark plug for them. And I know pitching's been a problem, and, I don't want to trade the whole farm to get Shamarda or whatever, whoever people want. I think that they can probably win the West with the pitching that they have. I don't know that they could win the pennant. So I kind of think it just depends on people's expectations. I mean, for me, I'm kind of like, they're not going to win every year. I'm kind of okay with that. I just want them to, contend for the West, probably win the West, and then see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like the starting staff, obviously there are some holes, right? Kane is not himself, and who knows really why. There's some analytic things that you can look at and wonder why, his strand rate was always like so great, and maybe that was always luck, and maybe his luck has come back to the norm a little bit on that. He's giving up a lot more home runs all of a sudden, and so maybe that's just location. Maybe he's just missing his spots. He never really had a single dynamic out pitch that just he was always just really above average on all of his stuff. So that's gonna be an issue. Bumgarner's solid. He's an ace. Like I think you could win the Game 7 of the World Series with him on the mound. Lincecum and Vogelsong are they're up and down, and you're gonna have to live and die with that. I do think that if they do get somebody else, I think Vogelsong would actually be the one going to the bullpen to be more of a long guy. Rather than Lincecum. Maybe in the playoffs they do that again where he becomes a valuable bullpen arm. But right now, just the way like we saw today, like he's not going to the bullpen. Not paying him $17 million to mop up and take innings away from Petit. But I do think we could use bullpen help though. I'm always a proponent of going after the best arms on these crap teams who don't need them, like how we got Javier Lopez years ago. Like we just preyed on a team who wasn't going anywhere and said, okay, we want your best bullpen arm, who's not your closer. I love it when they do deals like that because I don't think you could ever have enough strong bullpen arms. So that would be my number one, it's always my number one. And like you, number two, I'd whether it's Chase Utley or Daniel Murphy or some of these, second basemen, Ben Zobrist, I know is a hot one though. I think the Rays would probably steal our guys from us because they're so good at it. But yeah, so those are the two things I would look at. And I'm in. I'm like you. I'm happy with the two titles in the past 4 years. And I'm just looking forward to them competing. I like it when they compete, which is why last season was a little rough because they didn't compete near the end there. But I'm ready for the ride, and I have definitely a few more games upcoming to go to, so I can see them a little bit more closely in person. But I think it's gonna be a fun summer into the fall, and the only thing that I think would kill any sort of joy is if the Dodgers just catch fire because they're so stinking talented, but we've been able to hold them off so far.
Yeah, I just think injuries could ruin something. Who knows? I got real nervous about the injuries.
All right, so let's talk about the real sport here. The challenge free agents.
Yes.
So, like I said, very few people can talk both, and I'm boggled when I find somebody who watches this show and who is so into it like we are, talking to friends. I was like, oh, do you watch MTV's Challenge? Like, no, I think I watched Real World about 14 years ago, and that's the last time I turned on MTV. And so it's really hard to get people into it. But those of us who are the diehards and who carry the show and keep it on. And make sure that the minor league, which is now the Real World, the minor league feeder system for the Challenge, make sure both of those shows stay around because you can't have one without the other.
No.
So let's talk about the season so far. What is your feeling on the premise, which is they're not doing teams, it's not battle the rivals, it's not battle the seasons. It is very much, it's everyone for themselves, but there are team aspects into how that they get there. But with the way that they do the eliminations and the draw and how people get kicked out, it is very much a sort of a all everyone for themselves kind of season. How do you enjoy the premise, or you kind of wish that they kept up with one of the familiar ones of years past?
Well, I really like it. My fantasy team does not like it. I went on a limb and I went for Frank because I was like, Frank could be like the next wave of, those veterans, right? Because he's got the connivingness. He's pretty athletic. I was like, okay, Frank. And Frank goes home with, I don't even know what he had, like meningitis or something.
Yeah, like what was that about? Like I'm just
I don't know.
I'm just dying to know what he had that made him so sick that they quarantined him away from the whole show. Like, you're going to take away one of your best players because you're worried about him infecting the whole house. Like, how long does the normal cold, like, how long can you pass that around? Like, the flu, like, aren't you, like, isn't it like one day and then, like, nobody can get it from you anymore? Like, what did he have?
I have no idea. I have no clue, and that's why I was, like, so pissed, because he was the one I was counting on. And it was like, it was a snake draft, so I didn't get to pick again until it was like, I don't even remember, Devin or somebody terrible. Like, I can't even remember, like, what happened, but I was like, oh, my fantasy team is in a ton of trouble now. But anyways, like, I think, like, this is the game that they have all been asking for, right? How many times have we heard, if only I was not saddled down by whoever, I would totally win. And now they have to put their money where their mouth is. So in that respect, I love it. And I think that the draw just puts this element of the unknown in it. And I really like watching, like, them sweat every time they have to pull a card because, you never know when you're going to get the kill card. So I've been intrigued by it. I have to say, like, I really enjoyed, like, Battle of the Exes because that was obviously so much drama. But this one's been good, too.
Yeah, I agree with you. The draw and the fantasy league that you are alluding to is something that you put together at the beginning of the season, and we had to draft all of the participants, and we didn't even really know what the rules were, so we just drafted on, sort of historical, how good these people were historically, and sort of like who we liked. Like, I made a mistake of drafting some folks who I just wanted to root for, throughout the whole season. Like, I was just like, I just want to root for this person. I want to see how this person does. And not necessarily the best strategy, but it made it really fun. And the way that the scoring works is a little interesting. Because of, I think it at first it had to do with like who was on like winning teams, and then you have to keep your person out of being eliminated. And I think you are like all out of all of your players or something, right?
Yeah, I have like no one left. I'm really depressed, and I'm like pissed that Pavlovich is winning because he was the last draft. How is he winning? That's not even fair.
So I got lucky because I think I have the number? I might have had the number 3 pick because I think you went. I don't remember the order of the picks, but I think someone had gone bananas, and then I had the opportunity to go Laurel or CT. And everything in my heart wanted to draft CT, but I looked at the rest of the women on the roster, and I was like, Laurel's going to go through this like a knife through butter. And so I went Laurel, and I posted on Twitter something to the effect of, that I chose Laurel, but I really wanted to choose CT. And she somehow favorited that. And I just put Laurel. Like, there's how many women in this world named Laurel? And she was able to find her name on my tweet, my random tweet that I put out there. I thought that either shows how competitive she is, or I don't know. I couldn't determine if that was a good thing or a bad thing. I
mean, the vanity search is dangerous, She could have found a bunch of stuff she didn't like.
Oh, the person that I drafted with that I was thinking of was Hurricane Naya. Like, I went super high on Hurricane Naya just because I wanted to, because I'm such a fan of watching her just piss people off and mad dog people. That's who the person was. So
to be fair, she didn't do horribly.
Yeah, she hurt herself on that challenge and hurt her shoulder or whatever, but and kind of wussed out and lost. But oh well, she was a rookie. This was her first one, I think. So she will live another day. So we just the way that the show has gone through, like, because much like you, I thought Frank was going to do really well, until he got the clap or whatever he got that they had to kick him out. Because I ranked the people who I thought were going to win, and I had him at 1. I'm like, this is finally, the new guy's going to win it all, and Bananas and CT, they're going to have to lose to this guy. He's going to be the new king, and nope. You can't defense against STDs or whatever it is that he has. But were you surprised at sort of who's left? Because as of the final, which is kind of why we're talking about this, the final what is it? The final 4?
4? No, 6. 6.
Okay, and I'm trying to read this thing on Wikipedia, and it's not very easy for me to figure out who is still left. But we know
it's
Bananas, Devin,
right?
And Zach, who may be dead for all we know.
Yeah, I think he's dead, and that would be okay with me.
Wait, okay, because he's not on your team, or because you don't like him?
I don't particularly like him that much, so I don't know. He's all right. He doesn't bug me like I wish he were dead, but I honestly don't care what happens to him. He's just such a meathead.
He very much is, which makes him perfect for this show.
I know. It's so sad, though. I think I just really hate his hair.
Okay, so Zach. So as of the last vision that we saw from the show last week, Devin and Zach were in the raft, and somehow Devin kept making them go in circles, and Zach flipped over, and they saved Devin, but Zach was going down this river of rapid waters. And he was, maybe he could have stood up. I don't know how deep this was, but he looked like he was floating down the rapids, and it did not look good. And he may have drowned, but then again, they did record some stuff after, which I think he was on. So I believe his life is saved, but that was not a good scene for Zach.
No, it really wasn't. He was so angry to be paired with Devin that it was almost amazing.
But
he was so pissed.
Yeah, but didn't they say that, or I guess the rules were that each person had to be paired with someone on the opposite sex? Was that what it was? So whoever got Devin on this part of the challenge, they would have somebody else for the next part of the challenge.
Yeah,
at least that's how I understood it.
I don't understand this part. So let's say Zach died or whatever, and then Devin is being ported over to wherever they need to go. Does that mean that whoever was in first, I can't remember, was it Johnny Bananas, or I don't remember who it was, but that guy has to sit there and wait for her to get there?
So I think once this challenge part is over, they are timed, and then let's say that Johnny, like you said, let's say he won, and maybe he beat the other person by 5 minutes. So I think somehow he gets that tacked on to his time, but he still has to work together with Devin, who might be minus 5 hours by the time she gets to do her thing. There's got to be some math involved, and I fully have faith in TJ that he will get this math correct. But that's about it. If any one of these other people had to do the math themselves, I don't think they would have gotten it correct. But I have faith that TJ and the producers will get the math correct, and it'll be all good. So we have Devin, we have Zach, we have Johnny Bananas, who just he ousted my boy CT, who
so sad.
Who claimed that he was good with the puzzles before this thing started, and then just got whipped. And then, so Johnny Bananas, and there is Portland Johnny. What do they call him on this show?
I don't remember. Portland Johnny?
Johnny Portland, or something like that. And then, so that...
How did he make it? Jesus.
I know, he's the luckiest guy, because he never went into the draw. Or he never flipped the X over and had to go face somebody. The luckiest guy on the show. And Laurel... is still there, and then there's one more female who is left, correct?
Yep, it's Nani.
Okay, Nani, that's right. And Nani, the person who once Kohara left, she felt like she was all alone in the house. Nani. So yeah. So I mean,
I'm so pissed that she voted in Cara Maria. I was like so mad about that. I was like, come on, girl.
Okay,
You're good.
so let's talk about this. I have, on Facebook and Twitter, I've claimed my love for Cara Maria. She is the Tim Lincecum of the challenge to me. Just that underdog, bulldog mentality. Lincecum's probably closer to 5'9" than 5'11" or whatever he's billed at, and he's probably closer to 150 pounds than the 170 pounds he's billed at. But she's like that. She's like 5'5", 125 pounds, and has just shaped her body over the years from, when she was not very athletic and to now she's like a beast. And she hurts her hand and goes into has to go into the challenge with or against Laurel. And so she's got this broken hand, and you would think that the producers would put her into a challenge that didn't have anything to do with having to take her broken hand and punch it through a wall.
The one thing she couldn't do.
Exactly. Couldn't she have done the I don't know, what were some of the ones that they did? Yeah, the one
where you run around in a circle and like ring a bell.
Yeah, that one. Or she could have done the little tackle football, and you got to put the ball into the little cone thing.
Yeah.
She may have had a better chance at beating Laurel at doing those, but Laurel is the female. She's like the I don't know, what would you compare Laurel to? Like I can't even compare her because she's just bigger and stronger and smarter and sassier than like everybody else on that show.
She kind of reminds me of Evelyn when Evelyn was like decent.
Oh, Evelyn was so good.
Evelyn was so good, but then she started to like not be that good for some reason. Or I mean, when CT was like crazy, when he was like carrying around Johnny Bananas like a backpack, That's kind of how it was.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. No, I think that's the dream. Like, okay, so for next year, this is what I'm calling for. I want Laurel, Evelyn, and Emily all in the same challenge. Like, those are the three best.
Good Emily, right?
Yeah. Not the one that was on this season, but the one who's like the CrossFitter with like the yoked back and she does like deadlifts of like 5,000 pounds. That's the Emily that needs to be in the show. Like those.
Yes, I would love that.
Yeah, those three are so amazing. So Laurel is she ousted poor Cara Maria, and they had just gone through some drama the show before that. Supposedly they were best friends, but I don't know. Maybe they missed showing a lot of the footage of them being best friends, but.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember. I didn't see much of it at all, and I don't know. Maybe this is happening on Twitter or something. But Laurel decides that she's not sure who she's going to vote in, and she might have voted in Cara Maria before Devin because she had some promise to keep with Devin, and so Cara Maria was pretty upset, and they got into some fight on the bus, I'm assuming, because they didn't really show a lot of it, but the whole thing was based around Laurel being unable to apologize to Cara Maria, and she was very stubborn and would not accept whatever Laurel was doing, and Laurel's stubborn herself. So they had this really weird fight that wasn't a real fight, but was just them being angry at each other, and ended in this is where I'm wondering, like, is this thing staged? Because how did they end up facing each other like at that perfect time? Like they had, like, this fight had to have happened before, and maybe they made it look like it happened right then and there, like, because that was just perfect timing.
I know. Fucking challenge always roasts me in like this. They just know what we were after, and they probably do stage it.
And they did the same thing with what was the early version of this, which was Jordan against Johnny Bananas, and they had kind of built that thing up until Jordan didn't do so well on the wall, the same wall. And again, right, like, I don't think I'm making fun of Jordan by, saying that he's got a physical impalement with his hand. Like, he doesn't have a full working hand. And thus they made him do the same challenge of trying to bust through this drywall or whatever it is, with the hand. And he's not going to do very well at that one because, he doesn't have the second hand. And that's how he lost too. Like, they could have put him in a different challenge against Johnny Bananas, like do the one that you said, like the one where they got to run into each other and run around the circle. Like, I feel like that would have been way better. What is the wrecking? Like, why do they keep going back to the wrecking wall? It's the worst one out of all of them.
It is. It's horrible. I don't know why they do that. I mean, I'm sure they just know that we'll love it. Like, I'm complaining about it, but I also love it. I'm glad that Jordan got it because I hated Jordan and I wanted him gone, like, from the get-go because I find him so irritating. But I felt really, really terrible for Cara Maria. So bad.
Did the Jordan Laurel hookup make sense to you at all?
No, it actually disgusted me. I don't know why. I was so disgusted by the whole thing for some reason.
So in one sense, I think it does make a little bit of sense because you have the alpha dog of the females. Like, she runs that thing. I know Anissa, kind of, her being the veteran, like, she's got some influence, but really, the one who wins everything kind of is the one that everyone's afraid of. So I feel like Laurel is the alpha dog of that group. And Jordan is trying so hard to be that on the guy's side, but he's got Bananas, he's got CT, he's got to go through those guys. Even someone like Zach and Frank are ahead of him on that. So, I feel like them being attracted to each other wasn't that out of the norm because I think she's sort of kind of what he wants to be in a sense in this show, and so they probably have a lot of the similar personality traits and stuff. They're probably similarly competitive and they're similarly stubborn, and they sort of can read each other because they know, okay, this is how I would feel. So I kind of felt that was it. But the thing that throws me off is he's a strong competitor, and he's like he works. He's like a workout fiend. She's still like bigger than him though, like taller than him.
Also, yeah, that's totally true. Also, like, I don't think he performed that well.
Yeah.
In any of the paths that they had. So I was a little confused. Like, I get that he's supposed to be this powerhouse, but like, was he? I don't know.
Yeah, he was kind of disappointing. I will agree with you. He definitely overpromised and underdelivered on what he could do this season. And I think I think the next season, all those guys are going to rag on him exactly for that. So he's got another thing coming next year, the next season that they do this. Okay, so let's get to the prediction part of this. I imagine that it's one male winner, one female winner, and they sort of, everyone podiums because there's only 3 people in each left. So I'm sure at this point, like, everybody's sort of guaranteed something. But how would you rank the remaining 3 on each side?
So wait, who do we have? Okay, so I think Johnny Bananas will come in first for the guys. Followed by Zach if he's not dead. And then I mean Johnny Portland is just like whatever. I feel like there's no chance for him to be anything in this. And then for the girls, I don't know. I want to say Laurel, but like maybe Nani will come in before her.
Interesting.
I could see Nani doing it.
Okay, so
you're not buying it. Nani and then Laurel and then Devin.
So
maybe Devin doesn't even make it. I kind of think Devin's not going to make it.
Like she just gets disqualified because she walks out. She can't finish. I think
she can't finish.
That's actually a really strong bet. I think that's a good bet, and you probably are right. Though there has been a lot of talk about that. Like, they're kind of teasing that she's sort of getting frustrated because people are teasing her about, not being able to walk in the sand on that one challenge. She had to. They were walking through the desert or whatever. So I think they're kind of they're producing this in a way to where maybe her just finishing is like her Rocky Balboa moment. So that would be kind of interesting. Okay, so I agree with you. I think it's bananas, but I'm gonna say Portland second and Zach third.
You think Zach is dead?
Well, it's not that he's dead. I just feel like if you fall in the water and like you don't have a boat, like don't you get like he has to get like very penalized for this, right? Like I'm just feeling like he should beat Johnny Portland like fairly easily, but maybe Johnny Portland has like a 20-minute lead on him or something, and he just kind of has to just not lose all that lead, and he can beat Zach. So that's why I'm taking Johnny Portland second. And then on the women's...
Yeah, but I'm just thinking about how terrible Johnny Portland has performed. I don't think he's done anything other than have sex with Nani.
Well, that's something, right? It's not... Nani made Kahutta wait 10 weeks just to hold her hand, and then Johnny Portland's there, and in seconds, they were under the covers. So maybe, so maybe he does have something, that we don't know about. Like maybe there's a little spark in there. And so like on the women's side, I definitely think it's going to be Laurel. It has to be Laurel. And maybe somehow that will make my my fantasy team at least get to second place instead of third place. I do believe that Nani will come in second, and then Devin comes in third. But I think Devin finishes. At least I hope Devin finishes, because I think that'll be a nice little story for her, because she's often the one who people like Zach, so mad that he had to be paired up with her, and Then maybe she can burn another one of her weaves, like that's the championship weave or something.
I don't know. I'm just gonna guess Nani because I feel like I gotta take a chance. But I got no dog in this race, as you well know. I've been eliminated for weeks now. Fucking Kahutta was my last one. It was terrible.
All right, last question now. We can sort of go out on this one. And this isn't even like a real question as far as the game is concerned, but I'm always interested at who, like, because we've been watching this show and we've seen guys over and over and over and over. Like, who's your favorite challenge participants ever? Like, who are the people that you find yourself rooting for every time, no matter what? And I don't know if it's because maybe you find them attractive, or maybe they have just that something in their personality. But who do you feel like you're always pulling for, and why do you and why?
Oh no, I wasn't prepared for this. I mean, CT is one that I love rooting for. Even when he's being kind of a dick, like I'm always like, oh, CT. So I think CT is one of them. I really liked like Coral and The Miz back in the day, and like an old man River Mark. Like, I would always root for that. And I liked Abe a lot too. Do you remember Abe? Cara Maria's fling?
Yeah. I heard some weird stuff about those two, by the way. Like, just their weird sexual habits, and they would bite each other and scratch each other and all that crazy stuff. I always thought that. I was like, really? Okay.
What about you?
I'm with you on the CT thing. Like, I'm very. There's something about him as a dude where I just look at him and I go, that like I wouldn't want to hang out with that guy. I wouldn't want to be in the same bar as that guy. But there's something about him that just sort of screams badass, and I think I kind of dig that about him. Like, if you're thinking about your like favorite sports team, or maybe your favorite football team, and you look at someone like Patrick Willis or something, and I don't think he's as personality-wise. I imagine Patrick Willis is probably a little bit more calm, but you look at him and you go, wow, that guy's a badass. So there's the badass factor with CT that I think I really like. Whereas with Johnny Bananas, he's a little bit more whiny. He makes a lot of even though he's a winner, he complains so much, and if he loses, it's because of something else, not because of what he did. So I'm not as big of a Bananas fan, but I tip my cap to Bananas. The guy's been on. I think he debuted in the real world in 2003. So you were probably like not even. You were probably like a teenager.
No. I've been watching it since like Genesis and fucking Montana. I'm old school, but I can't remember which real world he was on.
Wasn't
like,
he
what city?
On? I will find this information out, but I'm trying to guess. I'm trying to remember actually.
It wasn't Semester at Sea, right? Because I did not watch that.
It would have been Key West. So
okay. I remember. I think I was in college and like didn't really have a TV.
So actually, I should have known this because the Key West season, I actually met somebody from that season who's played in the she's played in the challenge before, but she's actually from where I grew up. Her name was Janelle. Do you remember Janelle?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, so I met her because I was playing semi-pro baseball / city ball or whatever you want to call it, and I was playing against a team, and she was dating one of the dudes. So she came to a couple of the games, and she was very dolled up, and at that point I was like, I'm not going to go up and talk. I'm not going to go talk to her about the real world. Like then I'm going to really like that's not cool. But now, like if it was now, I would totally go up to her and chat about the real world. Like I don't know why I didn't do it, but so the other people on that show. So this was actually sort of a powerhouse version of the real world when it came to the challenge, because you're right, Paula Walnuts, who she's become sort of a challenge badass. I mean, some of it is being paired with the right people, but she's done really well. So Johnny Bananas, Tyler, you remember Tyler?
Oh yeah, Tyler, gay Tyler, right?
Yes, and one of the most attractive real worlders to me that I ever thought was a woman, a Russian girl by the name of Svetlana. Do you remember Svetlana?
Yes, I do.
So she was on this as well. She was only like. Gosh, was she even? I don't know. I'm trying to remember what age she would have been. So she would have been 19. Yeah. So I think that's it. Is there anything else that you wanted to hit on? I think we covered a whole lot before this season finale.
No, you killed it.
All right. How many times has he said that this year or this season?
Not that much, because I thought I'd get a lot more bonus points for that, but
yeah,
I'm really disappointed.
Yeah, he's told people to like shut up, I don't want to hear this stuff. Like, and he's clowned on a lot of people, but I haven't heard a lot of you killed it this season. Maybe we'll get some in the finale.
Yeah, I hope so.
All right, so that's it for this episode, and I appreciate you coming on and hanging out, and I'm sure we will do it again when the next season of this show comes on. But so Twitter, obviously, I mean, I'm sure anybody who's possibly listening to this is already following you on Twitter, but at Carmen Kiew. And you're still doing some writing somewhere for baseball stuff, right?
Yep, I'm still writing for basesportsnet.com and then my own website, which is gamerbabebullpen.com. So a little bit less, but still gifting away.
Yeah, so you should try to get Bags to change Gifmeister to Gif Badass. Like, I think that's the way to go with that nickname.
I'm going to do all I can.
All right. So for Carmen, I'm Double G. See you when we see you. Peace out.